जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna and welcome back. Thank you for joining. Today we are discussing verse number 11 of chapter number 2 from Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And today's day is a very important day for two reasons. The first reason is that in verse 7 we saw that Arjuna is surrendering to the Supreme Lord by saying Sishyasteham swadimam tam prapannam. And today onwards we'll see Lord Krishna assumes the role of spiritual master and he will start speaking to Arjuna. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is today is the most auspicious day of the glorious appearance of Srimati Radharani. So Srimati Radharani's picture here we see from ISKCON Vrindavan. It's a beautiful picture of Radha Shyam Sundar. So this is Radharani and Lord Sri Krishna from ISKCON Vrindavan. So Srimati Radharani is the eternal consort of the Supreme Lord Krishna. So when Lord appeared in this world, in this earthly realm 5000 years back to perform his earthly pastimes, Srimati Radharani also appeared with him. So this special day is known as Radhastami. So who is actually Srimati Radharani and why is she so much important to all the devotees? So that has been explained by our Acharya, predecessor Acharya, especially Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in NOD. NOD means Nectar of Devotion. He explains that Srimati Radharani has a very special position. So what is her special position? First is she is the topmost devotee of the Lord and she is a person. As Krishna is a person, Srimati Radharani is also a person. And Srimati Radharani is Bhakti personified. Meaning this is the manifestation of Bhakti. Which also means that ultimately Bhakti comes from Srimati Radharani. And when Bhakti or Srimati Radharani enters into the heart of the living entities, that is when the soul becomes attracted to Lord Sri Krishna. Otherwise our attraction for Lord Sri Krishna is dormant. But by her grace, we can become attracted to Lord Sri Krishna. An example can be given that when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then Srimati Radha becomes pleased with us. And by her grace, as a Bhakti Shakti, she enters into our heart and then we can experience some devotional emotions. So these devotional emotions are called as Bhava. So Srimati Radharani accepts our devotional service, extends her grace in our heart, and then we can start experiencing the bhava while performing our devotional service. So on this most auspicious day of her glorious appearance, we seek blessings from Srimati Radharani so that by her grace we can understand this divine message of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which will invoke our dormant love and service attitude for the Supreme Lord and his eternal associate. Thank you so much. And now we will begin with chapter 2, verse number 11. So today onwards, Krishna is going to start speaking Bhagavad Gita, the message of Bhagavad Gita by instructing actually Arjuna. So this 11 to 30, verse 11 to 30, that comes under section B. So we have completed section A, which is verse 1 to 10. And in this section, there are again different subdivisions, 11 to 13, 16 to 25. This is mostly talking about the souls. So you can go over this section and then we will cover this as we complete the sections. So verse number 11 begins as, because Krishna is speaking, so therefore Vyasdev always writes as Shri Bhagavan Vacha. So let's read the verse. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Asocyananvasocastvam Pragyavadamscha Bhasyase Gatasun Nanu Sochanti Panditaha. And the translation is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for that what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So when Krishna spoke for the first time in verse 2.2, Krishna and Arjuna's relationship was like a cousin or a friendship relationship. But now that relationship is changed. Krishna has assumed the role of a spiritual master. So now the relationship is very grave and very serious. So now onwards, Lord Krishna has, as he has taken the role of spiritual master of Arjuna, he begins by chastising Arjuna immediately by calling Arjuna indirectly that he is a fool. Krishna says, Pandita or wise person, do not lament. That is the last line of this verse. Nanu sochanti pandita, means panditas do not lament. So since Arjuna is lamenting over here, so Krishna is saying that you are not acting like a pandita. So how are you acting? You are acting like a fool, he is saying. You are acting like a fool. So when a spiritual master chastises a disciple, it should be considered as an honor for a disciple. One should always present themselves as a fool in presence of a spiritual master. We should never present ourselves as a very learned person in presence of a spiritual master. We should be acting like a humble servant in front of the Guru. So Krishna is the supreme spiritual master. So before prescribing the medication or giving solution to the problems of Arjuna, first he is going to diagnose the problem. What is the actual problem Arjuna has? So what is the root cause of Arjuna's problem of lamentation? So that is described over here, and actually there is a problem for everyone. So that is the first line. Asocyan anvasochastvam. So what that means? Socha means to lament. So or means to socha in Hindi it is to think, and asocha means that you should not be thinking about. So socha means to think, asocha means that we should not thinking about or lamenting about. So here we see that Arjuna is thinking or lamenting for something which is not fit to be thought about, or which is not worthy of thinking about. So that is what Krishna is saying to Arjuna over here. Then Krishna is saying that pragyavadamscha bhasyase. So while lamenting, your bhasha means whatever you are speaking or words which you are speaking, that looks like a word of a wise person. But in fact, it is not a word of a wise person. So that's what Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna over here. Krishna says that you are speaking big words that I have heard from this Shastra and other Shastra like Dharma Shastra and Artha Shastra, and I have heard like we go to hell and then there's sinful reaction, etc, etc. So you are talking or speaking all big words, but what is the reality? The reality is you are overwhelmed by emotions. So the education is not for the purpose of verbalization. Verbalization means I know and I speak big things. So what is the purpose of education? So the purpose of education is actually transformation. So real education is not the education of words, but for the education of emotions. Means the education by which we what emotions are appropriate and what emotions are inappropriate is known to us, and what emotions are real and what emotions are illusion is also known to us. So this is the purpose of educations. So the false emotions are based on the false platform. And what is the false platform? So the false platform is our bodily identification, or thinking on the platform that whatever I see, the matter is reality. But is this the actual reality? So this is the indication that the knowledge is not internalized. Whatever education Arjuna has got is on theoretical level. So the verbalization of the knowledge without internalizing it, this is not a kind of spiritual advancement. So this is basically just knowing the subject matter in terms of theoretical understanding. So in essence, Krishna says that you are talking all big things, but your emotions are uncontrolled and uneducated. And then comes the next line, Gata sun agata sunscha. So this is a little technical subject matter, where asun means it can be tears, or asun means it can be life force. So here this asun means life force or life air. So what is life air? So life air is nothing but oxygen plus it's a framework of air, or we can consider it as a network of air which is coordinating the functions of the body. So in the body we have different kinds of air like prana, apana, samana, vayana, udana. And in this body, whatever functions that are happening, so that are happening with the help of this prana vayu. It enables us to live, and the body can function well in this with this life air. Now our bodily existence are in three different levels. One is at the physical level or at the gross level like the body which we see. So something you can see, something you can touch, or you can interact with. So that is our physical body. And then apart from that physical body, there is a second level of existence, and that is a subtle body. And subtle body consists of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So this is all explained in details in chapter number 7. So the subtle body is mind, intelligence, and the false ego. And then the subtlest most in the body is the soul, the spirit soul. So in terms of a computer, if we see, then this gross body, which is we can see, which is like 5 senses, so consisting of the 5 senses, can be compared to a computer hardware. And then the subtle body can be compared to the software within the hardware. And the person who is using the computer can be considered as the spirit soul, or the user is the spirit soul. The person who is using it is the spirit soul. So again, the 3 levels of existence is the physical level, the body, and the subtle level, the subtle body, and the soul. So the connection between the physical body and the soul is the subtle body, whereas the connection between the subtle body and the physical body is the link is that holds these two things is the prana or the life air. So we can see that when we get angry, then we sometimes breathe faster. And if we want to calm down our emotions or our anger, then we do a slow breathing. That's why this slow breathing is recommended when somebody becomes angry. So this is how the body actually functions. So here Krishna is saying gata sun, agata asun. So gata means something which is lost. Gata asun means dead. Agata asun means something which already has life. So nanu sochanti pandita. So somebody who is a pandita, he understands this movement of the body, and those who are wise or pandita, they do not lament either for the living or for the dead. So basically he understands that the body has various different levels, and the soul, he understands the soul, and he understands the body, and how they all work together. So I put a picture over here to make it more clear that Krishna actually chastises Arjuna and is talking that you are talking like a learned man, but you are acting like a fool. You are spiritually a fool. Then who is a learned man? A learned man, he knows that there is a body and there is a soul, and the soul is eternal and the body is temporary. So this is what a learned man knows, and he differentiates matter and spirit. So this body is matter and the soul is spirit. So a learned man knows the difference between the two, and he also knows that Krishna is the controller of both, and he is sitting in the heart as the super soul who controls both matter and spirit. So this is how a learned man knows, and he doesn't he can control his emotions. He doesn't react like the way you are reacting. Krishna is telling to Arjuna. So basically you are not acting like a learned man. So this is the essence of this verse, that you are posing yourself as a learned man, but you are actually lamenting for something which is not worthy of lamentation, because the body is matter and it is dead anyway. It is alive right now because of the presence of soul within the body. So let's see what Srila Prabhupada has to instruct us in the purport. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about Lord Krishna chastises Arjuna. The Lord at once took the position of the teacher and chastised the student, calling him indirectly a fool. Right? He's calling him fool. The Lord says, you are talking like a learned man, but you don't know that one who is learned, one who knows what is the body, what is the soul, does not lament for any stage of the body, neither in the living nor in the dead condition. But he is saying, so that's why this word socha is lamentation. So that word is used 3 times over here. Asochan, anvasochas. So socha is used here, as well as socha is used here, and then Krishna is saying over here, Nanu sochanti pandita. The pandita never laments for either a dead or a living condition, because he knows that this is how the soul is eternal but the body is temporary. So this is what the first point Prabhupada talks about. What is the second point Prabhupada is talking? What is knowledge? As explained in the later chapters, it will come in the later chapter, it will be clear that the knowledge means to know matter and spirit and the controller of both. So this is actually knowledge. A learned man, he knows that there is matter in this world and there is spirit in this world, and these two are different things actually. One is eternal and the matter is temporary, and Krishna is the controller of both. So when somebody knows this, that person is actually a learned man, and when he becomes learned, he never laments on those things which is temporary, because soul is eternal anyway. So what was Arjuna's arguments? So Arjuna argued that religious principles should be given more importance than the politics or sociology. So he was talking about Dharma Shastra. So religious principle means Dharma Shastra, and the politics and sociology is Artha Shastra. So this discussion happened in chapter number 1, and Arjuna says that according to Dharma Shastra, this is the point, and according to Artha Shastra, he put some arguments. But he did not know that the knowledge of matter and soul, the supreme, is even more important than religious formularies. So this is termed as Jnana Shastras. So above the Dharma Shastra and above the Dharma Shastra is higher than Artha Shastra, but above both of them is the Jnana Shastra. So this Jnana, Krishna is going to talk in this verses 11 to 30. He is going to give the knowledge about the matter, he is going to give the knowledge about soul, and he is going to give the knowledge about the Supreme, who is the controller of both matter and soul. What was the result? So Arjuna gave all these arguments, and what was the result? The result was, and because he was lacking in that knowledge, the Jnana Shastra, he should not have posed himself a very learned man. So he was talking about all these Shastras, and he was, so that's why Prabhupada is calling over here, he was posing himself as a learned man. As he did not happen to be very learned man, he was consequently lamenting. So all his knowledge which he knew, what was the result of that? Even knowing all these things, he could not control his emotions. So consequently, Arjuna is lamenting for something which was unworthy of lamentation. So that was the result. That knowledge brought him to the position of lamentation. So who is actually learned? The body is born and is destined to be vanquished today or tomorrow. Therefore, the body is not as important as the soul. So this is a very important point which is being discussed in the next few verses from 11 to 30. This is the first point in Bhagavad Gita, that we are not this body, we are soul, and the soul is eternal. So we have to focus on the eternal, not on the temporary. The body keeps on changing, and body is for sure going to be destroyed. As we have heard this term, as sure as death, it is going to happen to everyone. It's common to all. Nobody wants it, but nobody can avoid it. Everybody has to go through the process of death. So we must focus on something which is eternal, and that is the soul. And this is the point Prabhupada is saying. I'll read it again. The body is born and is destined to be vanquished today or tomorrow. It is going to die, no matter how hard we try, no matter what science can advance, but nobody can stop death. Therefore, body is not as important as the soul, because soul is eternal and it lives eternally. So therefore, the Bhagavad Gita focuses on this eternal science, right? One who knows this is actually learned, and for him there is no cause for lamentation, regardless of the condition of the material body. So the learned person focuses on something which is eternal, not on something which is temporary. And the learned soul, learned people, they do not lament for something which is temporary, which is anyway going to be destroyed. It may be today, or it may be tomorrow, or sometime later. So that is the discussion in this particular verse, and Krishna is going to speak on this topic. He'll go deeper in this topic of soul in the future verses, at least up to verses number 30. So with this, we'll stop here, and then we'll continue our discussion on soul on the future verses. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Bol.